Well, whenever Mr. Peters is asking, I'm trying to be helpful and open-minded. Anyway, when we talk about James Madison, I don't know exactly, but I really hope that maybe he is my grandfather. So who knows? But the name is same. I know that we have some colleagues from the European Parliament also here, like Ferdinand is there, and our Romanian colleagues, and we have very good colleagues from Europe, also from the national parliaments, from Latvia. But I know that there are some great friends always been here every year from Africa, different African countries. And this conference has always been for 2 days, for years, discussed especially about the cybersecurity, human trafficking, but also the security problems, the risks, how to deal with that. But when we also look for the latest plan for the American foreign policy, the national security strategy, then we can see clearly that, of course, the American priorities will be for the future, especially Southern America. At the same time, Africa has been the top priority for China. And when we look on the resources, I just had some beautiful facts and the numbers. I like numbers. When we look on the facts and numbers, you can imagine just a question like maybe the fact check. You know that how much cobalt exists in Africa, totally of the world. It's about 80%. About 80% of the cobalt exists in Africa, especially in Congo. And cobalt we need it if you want to try with Tesla or other electric cars, we need it for the batteries, and most of those resources are controlled by China. Other thing, for example, lithium. About the total of the world, 9% of the lithium exists in Zimbabwe. And Zimbabwe has been also the great partner for China. And we need lithium for the batteries again. And especially when we talk about the Europe and the Green Deal and how to save the planet and how to save all the ice bears, then for the Green Deal and for the new resources, we need batteries, and for the batteries, we need resources. And China has been very clever about that. If you know, I don't know, do you know that how much is controlled by China for the minerals? 90% of the global minerals are controlled by China. The most important ones, cobalt, lithium, others. For example, the other resources, gas. The biggest resource of gas exists in Mozambique. And Mozambique has always been influenced by China. Other things, for gold. About 10% of the total gold resources exist in Africa. For example, South Africa, also in Zambia, some also in Congo. And now the question is that what will be the strategic plan for the future, that how to have normal partnership with African countries and how to reduce the Chinese influence and also the Russian influence. For example, Sudan. Sudan is in the internal conflict and the war. I just had a very good meeting a few weeks ago with the ambassador of Sudan to the European Union. And there was a question, of course, of how we can help Sudan, how to finalize the problem there with RFS, Rapid Force Resources, what is the Islamistic radical group who's trying to destabilize the country. But at the same time, there is a huge Chinese and Russian influence, and also from the United Arab Emirates. And also, many of you who are from the parliaments, you know it very well that also in Sudan, there is a very small, tiny minority of Christians, about 5% of the population are Christians. And especially those terroristic groups are attacking the churches, Christian minorities. And of course, the ambassador totally agrees that it is unacceptable. And but the question is that how the other countries, especially the European countries or the Western countries or the United States, can really help to reduce Chinese influence, because there is interest from the both sides. And I know that the history is very complex, especially with the European countries together with African countries. But I think the time has passed pretty much. It has been like 50, 60 years. When they have an independence, they have their own countries. But always the question is that which countries will be the best partners for the cooperation, for the economy, for the security. for the technological cooperation. And I think like maybe 10, 20 years ago, there was maybe huge hope in African countries that China will be the best partner, because China is technically asking nothing. It doesn't ask about the election systems or the democracy or the women's right or whatever else. They're just asking for the deal. We're gonna build you some bridges, some infrastructure objects, some roads, and you just give the opportunity to the Chinese companies to mine the resources. Is it gold, is it cobalt, whatever else. But now, like when I've been like in African countries, in several, pretty often, now you can see that the African countries aren't so happy anymore, because they see that it's the new expansionism of China. And they doesn't care about local countries or how they are developing for the future. And here is the best cooperation part for the European countries if they are getting over the historical past. And for the African countries, when they see that you can be also pretty free of the Chinese influence. And there is interest for the both sides, definitely. Because the United States are focusing for the Southern America, it's understandable, also for the China and Taiwan. But for the European countries, the main focus should be on Africa, because Africa is huge. It's much bigger continent than Europe altogether. And it's full of resources, full of possibilities, full of cooperation. So that will be that. And currently today, when we look on the foreign policy of the EU, I really don't see that some kind of strategic mindset that how we can get closer to this South Africa, to Congo, to Sudan, or Zimbabwe, that we can win for the both sides. So yeah, but we are working for that, especially conservatives, that to have a normal common sense coming back to the EU, and to have a normal cooperation with the United States, so that globally the both sides can win, especially the US and the EU. Thanks so much.